You are listening to the Inverted Creative Podcast. I'm Allison.
I'm Brian.
And I'm Jen.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Inverted Creative Podcast. We are super excited to have a special guest with us today from Morgan's Wonderland in San Antonio, Texas, the park president, Mr. Richard Pretlow. Hey, Richard.
Hey there. Thank you for having me. It's a really great opportunity.
Yeah, thank you so much for spending the time with us today. To start off, would you want to give listeners a quick overview of kind of the Morgan's properties and your history with joining them?
Sure, of course. Morgan's, we're so much more than just a theme park. Of course, it all started with Morgan's Wonderland, our park, but we have Morgan's Inspiration Island, which is our splash park. We have our multi-assistance center, which is designed to allow folks with special needs to see all of their doctors in one location. We have the Morgan's Camp, we have the Morgan's Sports Center, and the Morgan's Hotel will be coming online soon. So there's really a lot of cool stuff going on, and the inspiration behind everything you see is who we're named after, Morgan. Morgan is Gordon Hartman's daughter. He is the founder, and he is the chairman of all things Morgan's. So Morgan was born with physical and cognitive special needs, and I believe it was 2006 or maybe 2005, 2006 timeframe. Gordon, his wife, and Morgan were visiting a very popular resort in Orlando that'll be nameless. But Morgan, she's very tall. She's 6'4", and at the time she was non-speaking. And she saw some kids in a pool playing with a ball, and she approached those kids, and those children just not knowing how to interact with someone who is as tall as Morgan, someone who's non-speaking. And Morgan speaks now, by the way. She speaks beautifully. She even sings too. But those kids not knowing how to interact with someone with special needs and disabilities, they very quickly grabbed their ball and they got out of the pool. So Gordon wanted to create and build a place where people of all abilities can play together. So what makes our park so unique is that we are not just for folks with disabilities or special needs. We are for everybody. So we have the first and what I believe is the only fully wheelchair accessible carousel in the world. And what's so cool about it is we don't want folks who have disabilities or special needs to feel like they're in a device that's somehow weird or different. So if you look at our carousel or our Ferris wheel or any of the rides that we have, the wheelchair accessible gondolas look like they're supposed to be there. They don't look any different than any of the other gondolas, but they're fully wheelchair accessible. That's what makes Morgan's so unique. That's what makes this park so unique. And that's what makes the services that we do just so great.
I love it so much. Yeah, no, we were inspired by Morgan's pretty early on, and we wanted to do an accessibility mini series on the podcast. So we've talked about service dog handling at parks. We did a little deep dive about accessibility with one of our coaster enthusiast friends who has a disabled brother and his experiences there. So it's really exciting to get to learn more about Morgan's. We want our listeners to kind of get a better perspective of everybody else who can experience theme parks just as well as them.
Yeah, totally understandable.
I'm curious, are you a theme park and roller coaster fan yourself?
Well, I think to be a park general manager, to be a park president, I mean, you really have to love theme parks. So being here at Morgan's, this is not my first stint in a theme park. I've been doing this now for, this is year 16, going on year 17. I started at Busch Gardens in Williamsburg, Virginia, went on to Sesame Place. I've worked with Crayola Experience right when they were getting their family entertainment centers off the ground. Spent some time with Six Flags Great Escape in Lake George, New York. Was the president for a while at Six Flags America, which is unfortunately closing. Very sad story. We'll save that for another podcast. Was VP of Revenue at SeaWorld San Antonio, and then 3 years ago took on this opportunity here at Morgan. So my entire professional career has been in theme parks. So yes, I would say I'm very much so a roller coaster theme park nerd.
What's your favorite roller coaster?
Yeah, we have to ask.
That's a really that's like somebody asking me my favorite movie. I usually go by genre. My absolute favorite roller coaster is the Loch Ness Monster at Busch Gardens, Williamsburg, just because of the significance of that roller coaster. That was the first roller coaster that I ever got on. I was 5 years old, and my dad told me it was a monorail. And as soon as they drop that harness over you and you start to go up the track and you hear the click clack of the anti rollback, you're like, "Oh, this ain't no monorail." But yeah, that one is probably my absolute favorite. But I have many just in different categories.
Right. Yeah, my sister tricked me onto Tower of Terror when I was 5 years old, so I understand that very well. But boy, I liked roller coasters at all.
Oh yeah, we love them.
Yeah, I feel like that's always got to be my first experience. I was prompted to get on with a promise of a Care Bear. So,
It happens to all of us. It's like a rite of passage almost.
For sure.
exactly. Everyone needs to start somewhere.
Oh yeah.
All right. So, moving over a little bit to the actual design and experience of the park, how much do you work with the ride manufacturers when you're building things for the park and area designers when you develop the accessible options?
So we work extremely close with the ride manufacturer when we are thinking about designing, installing, purchasing a new ride. Because for many ride manufacturers, what's interesting is Gordon often tells a story about when he was first coming up with the idea for the park. He visited the IAPA Expo in 2007. And when he brought up the idea of a wheelchair accessible ride, a wheelchair accessible, carousel, he says that most folks laughed him out of the room. And now here we are in 2025. Gordon is actually in the IAPA Hall of Fame. So it's his curiosity, it's his question asking, it's his candidly some of his aggression around things that really pushes the envelope. But we don't just go to a ride manufacturer and say, "Give us that." We want to be very involved in the process because it's not just about accessibility for wheelchair users,
Mhm.
but what about folks who have low vision? What about folks who have low hearing? What about folks who get easily overstimulated? What about all those folks? And then to take it a step further, it's not just about accessibility for the guest, because we talk a lot about accessibility for our guests. It's about accessibility for our team members as well. About 20% of our team members actually identify as having a special need or disability. So outside of the ride itself, even the ride control panel, the safety zones, the everything that we do about that ride, team member, guests, maintenance related, is all built around accessibility and inclusion. Because believe it or not, we have ride operators who are in wheelchairs. And there are a lot of rides out there that typically use a foot pedal as a dead man switch, but if we have someone who's in a wheelchair, they're not able to use a foot pedal. So those are things that we have to think about and say, how does a wheelchair user, how are they able to still operate this ride? Because what's critically important for us is representation matters.
Mhm.
And so we have a lot of guests who come through the park who, many have never been here before. But when you see somebody who looks like you, when you see somebody who identifies with the same disability, same special need as you do, that can be inspirational. Because there are a lot of people who come here not realizing that, oh, I'm in a wheelchair, but I can actually operate that ride too. I can work in that food service stand. I can, so I can do all the things because, uh, the challenge for the theme park world is that and I can say this having been a traditional operator, we see somebody with special needs or disability, and our default is put them in janitorial. But being here at Morgan's has shown me and has taught me that um, If they want to go to janitorial, they can, but they can do so much more. So it's a very large, encompassing thought process. I know I kind of went around the mulberry bush a little bit, but there's just so much that goes into it. It's not just about the guest; it's the team and the whole experience.
Such a good philosophy.
Yeah,
I love it.
so do I. It's incredible. Coming off of this, and this is going to piggyback off of some of your other experience as well. How much more involved with the design, like with the entire design process, are you with Morgan's than you were at like other parks that you worked with in the past?
I would say pretty well involved in the design process. The difference between the design process here and the design process at a SeaWorld or a Six or another one of those establishments is that here, except we have to think about accessibility first versus at other places we're thinking about throughput first. We're thinking about, okay, how big can we make the queue line? How many riders can we get through per hour? Now those are things that we are concerned about here at Morgan's. We don't want people waiting in long lines. We want efficiently designed queue lines. But for us, accessibility is the first design philosophy that we think about. And so everything we have in the park was actually designed by one gentleman. His name is Robert Luna, and he was actually an architect for Gordon when Gordon was running his home building business. So he's been very involved and very entrenched with the mission and philosophy of Morgan's since day one. And really, every facility that you see on the Morgan's campus, everything from the park, the water park, the camp, sports, the multi assistance center, even the hotel that's coming online, his deep knowledge and his deep understanding of accessibility and inclusion, he's been our primary designer of choice.
Oh, that's
Very
awesome.
cool.
Yeah.
So, thinking about like rides that you guys want for the future, potentially from Morgan's, this is a question posed by a friend of the podcast, Mike. He had said, if you could work with any ride manufacturer to build and develop an accessible ride for the park, who would it be and what ride type do you envision?
Well, I'll answer that question in two ways. We've worked with a lot of different ride manufacturers. I'll say the manufacturer that we've worked the best with, the manufacturer who has delivered the most for us, and the manufacturer who has made it clear that they are very committed to accessibility and inclusion, that is Zamperla.
Okay.
And so before Mrs. Zamperla's father passed away, and I think it was 2020 or 2021, I mean, they made a very bold commitment to accessibility and inclusion. I mean, Zamperla has been designing wheelchair accessible rides since the early 2000s. So it's not a new concept for them, but we work very closely with them. We've learned things from them. They've learned things from us. And I believe I can say that, we've seen improvement in the industry as a whole because of the relationship that we have. But to go back to the original question, what type of ride would I like to see? Um, if you look at our portfolio of rides, we have traditionally been geared towards ages 2 to 12. Okay. Um, but we have a lot of special needs children who at some point are going to be a special needs adult. Same, for the disabled community. Not everybody wants the kiddie ride. Some people want something that's a little more thrilling. So over the next couple of years, we are going to look for ways to strategically, to safely, always with the concept and idea of accessibility and inclusion to increase the thrill. Maybe that's a roller coaster. Who knows? Maybe it's some sort of tower ride or something that's got a little more speed to it. But we are going to look for ways to up the thrill. Um, won't say any manufacturer specifically. I mean, if you look at the landscape of attractions, I mean, Intamin, RMC, Huss, I mean, Zaire, I mean, Premier Rides, I mean, you name it. There's so many good manufacturers, so many good engineers out there. I mean, it's just incredible the stuff they do and the stuff they come up with. Um, I don't know if all of them are ready to take a dive into accessible rides and attractions because there is a lot of engineering that goes into it that some manufacturers may not have the capacity for. Some of them may not have the time for. But a lot of great folks out there, and I think our mission matters to all of them. But sometimes it's a matter of bandwidth whether they can, actually meet our needs or not.
Makes sense. I love that about Zamperla. I actually didn't know how involved they were with everything. That's fantastic.
Oh yes, they're very involved, and if you can look at examples at Give Kids the World in Orlando, they actually have many of the first generation of wheelchair accessible rides that Zamperla ever designed. So their version of we call it the Magic Bikes here. I think Give Kids the World. I'm not sure what they call it. Maybe theirs is the Wonder Bikes, but either way, the two Zamperla attractions they have are actually prototypes that Zamperla designed, engineered, and when they got done with them, they actually donated them to Give Kids the World.
Oh, wow.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's definitely something I had no idea Zamperla was so involved with. That's
Oh
great.
yes.
All right, so we've talked about some of the good things about running the park, some of the things that are really enjoyable, and the design process. What do you think the biggest challenge of running a park based solely around accessibility or around inclusion, I should say?
So the challenges with inclusion is we try to include everybody, but the reality is not everybody's going to be included. And I'll give you a couple of examples. Um, in the theme park business, you ask any general manager, any park president, any executive that has ever run a park for 10 minutes and ask them what their number one priority is, they will tell you safety. And if they tell you anything else, get out of that park as fast as you can. But safety is our number one priority. And so the reality is, while we do our best to accommodate as many special needs, as many disabilities as we can't accommodate everybody. So, for example, we have some folks who arrive in extremely large and heavy wheelchairs. Some of our rides just simply cannot handle wheelchairs that are 500 plus pounds. And for a lot of these folks, their wheelchair is part of their body, so they can't get out of it. They can't transfer. That would be very uncomfortable for them. So it's one of those things where it makes it a very difficult discussion. Like, hey, your chair is too large for this ride. Or even some cases, we have folks where the physical nature of their chair appears to be in a great state of disrepair. And it's like, unfortunately, because of the nature of this ride, and because of the status of your wheelchair, this is not a ride you'll be able to enjoy today. Now, we always try to divert folks to rides and attractions that are for them, but there's some rides that we try to get as much stuff as we can, but we're never going to be able to. I mean, when you think about the world of special needs and disabilities, I mean, it is enormous. I mean, it's referred to as a minority group, but I mean, you think about it, it is just enormous, and it is one of the only minority groups in the world that, at some point, all of us are able to join. I mean, if we live long enough, all of us are going to, be impacted by some sort of special need, whether it's mobility, vision, hearing, whatever the case may be. And so, again, we do our best, but we know we're not able to accommodate all the things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very true. Kind of on the flip side of that, thinking going from, kind of the potential downsides to the positives of what we're doing for the industry. What is one of the best moments you've seen where accessibility or inclusion truly changed a guest day for the better?
Absolutely. So this is one of my most favorite stories. It's the one that I tell the most. And it's from when I first started back in 2023. So it was March, and we had just opened. We may have been open for a couple of weekends, and in the front of our park, we have a butterfly playground. It's two very large playgrounds, very nice. I mean, beautiful playgrounds with shaded and everything. And there was a gentleman who was in a motorized wheelchair, and he was kind of off to the side, and he was crying. And approached him, and I didn't know what was going on. I was like, "Sir, is something I can help you with? Or you lost? Can I help you find your family?" And he said, "No, I'm just really happy." I was like, "Oh, that's wonderful." And learning more about him, he had been in the military for many, many years, and on his last deployment is when he became disabled, and he was permanently put into a wheelchair. Most of the left side of his body was severely damaged to the point where he could not use it, and he didn't have a lot of good mobility on the right side of his body. And what he said was, what's unique about our playground is that if you look at it real quick, it looks like any ordinary playground. And that's because it is an ordinary playground. But when you really look at it, it is so wide that two wheelchairs can actually pass by each other at the same time. And he said that for the first time since he's been back, well, I'll back up. His son was born while he was deployed.
Oh,
So
wow.
he did not even witness the birth of his son. And so when he came back to the United States, unfortunately, he came back disabled, and he was not able to interact with his son very much. And being at Morgan's on the butterfly playground, he said was the first time that he was able to actually play with his son, because the housing development that they lived in, there was a playground, and his son was able to play on it, but he couldn't play with his son. He had to sit off at the side because the playground was surrounded by sand, which, playgrounds are traditionally surrounded by sand. But if you're in a motorized wheelchair, like, it's not an all-terrain vehicle. It can't go in the sand. But he came here and he was able to play with his son for the first time. That just had a really dramatic impact on him that I know I will always remember. And I certainly believe he will always remember for the rest of his life as well. And probably his son will remember too.
Wow. Jen
That's a
looks like she's about to cry.
I know, it's a really beautiful story. I really like that one.
It's a good story.
It's really special and especially coming like I think of stories like that, and I wouldn't expect something like the playground um to trigger such an emotional story.
Hmm.
It's really beautiful.
Now, I know the butterfly is a meaningful kind of mascot for Morgan's. What's the reasoning behind that?
The butterfly has become the symbol of inclusion for Morgans, and you have to remember our inspiration is Morgan, and she loves butterflies. So it just was natural for the butterfly itself, Joy the butterfly, to become our mascot. Now, what's interesting about the butterfly and the butterfly playground is that if you look at a Google Earth or Google Map image of the park, the butterfly playground is actually in the shape of a butterfly, and all the shade sails represent the wings. It's a very cool image
Cool.
that you see from the top down if you're looking at a Google Map image.
I will have to go look at that. That sounds
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, that's a really cool design
Hmm.
to add in there. We're gonna move back over to some design choices here. What has been some of the best innovation that you've seen for the inclusive design, either at Morgan's or anywhere else that you'd love to implement?
Some of the best innovation. Hmm. I'm going to try to keep it. Going to try to keep it to Morgan's. There's so much that we do. Okay. In our water park, Morgan's Inspiration Island, if you're a wheelchair user, um, I honestly had no idea before coming here how much wheelchairs cost. It's not really something that you think about. They can be anywhere from a few hundred to a few thousands, with some of the more specialized chairs being 25, 30, $35,000. And what's interesting is you ask yourself, how does someone who wants to come to our water park and get wet and enjoy, a water park in the San Antonio heat, how do they enjoy themselves if they're in a $35,000 motorized chair with the battery and all these electronics on it? Well, we here at Morgan's actually have pneumatic powered chairs that we actually loan out to folks who want to enjoy our water park but don't want to damage their chair. These were designed by students at the University of Pittsburgh, and they are 100% air powered chairs. Has a joystick, much like a motorized wheelchair, has all the features and whatnot of a motorized wheelchair, but it has no electrical components. It is 100% air powered. So it can get, not only can it get wet, it can actually get submerged in water and be perfectly fine because it has two very large scuba diving tanks that are underneath the seats that actually power it. That is probably one of the most innovative, thoughtful, intriguing, unique designs that I've seen since I've been here. We've certainly got a whole plethora of very unique design things, but that the chair itself, the design of the chair, and the fact that you can really use it anywhere and get completely submerged, and that way you're still included in the experience, I think is some real innovation. Because when you think about the word innovation, actually somebody actually asked me this the other day. When you think about innovation, the definition of innovation is taking something that already exists and representing it in a way that the world has never seen before. And the good example of that is the iPhone. Cell phones existed before 2007. Cell phones with internet existed before 2007, but then boom, 2007, the iPhone comes out and it completely revolutionizes the industry. That's really what innovation is. They took two things that already exist and put it together. We took scuba diving tanks and we took a wheelchair. We put it together and we made a motorized wheelchair that doesn't actually have a motor on
That is so cool. I'm sitting here just like, wow. Because I know on our last episode, like we were looking a little bit at the Morgan's website and seeing the Inspiration Water Park and just thinking how cool it is to have an inclusive water park. But to hear about those
it.
wheelchairs is just mind
Yeah.
blowing.
And what also makes our water park unique is that so we just feature splash pads at our park. Like there's no wave pool or pools to swim in. And for some folks that may be off-putting, because they say, well, you got a water park, but you don't have any place to swim. But if you think about it through the eyes of a parent and you have a special needs or disabled child, they're usually either not a strong swimmer or they're not a swimmer at all. Now, if we just have splash pads, there is nowhere for your child to drown. So the anxiety of going to a water park with the potential of, your child drowning or ingesting a lot of chlorinated water, that fear doesn't exist here. So I think that anxiety that a lot of parents have when they go to Aquatica or Hurricane Harbor or any of the other really fantastic water parks out there, that doesn't exist here at Inspiration Island.
Yeah, I think of splash pads, and I feel like that is. I know we talked about like rites of passage earlier. It kind of feels like another rite of passage for kids to just play in a splash pad. Like I think I have pictures of me playing in the one at Epcot when I was 5 years old. No, the new Epic Universe also has one, and just having something accessible for everybody. It's
Mm-hmm.
fantastic.
Definitely.
So I know you have worked in other theme parks, not necessarily in the same role, but I know you have an understanding of how kind of the mainstream larger parks operate. Knowing what you know now, what do you think those parks can do better in areas of accessibility and inclusion?
Sure, sure. So it's it's easy but challenging all at the same time because Morgan's is 15 years old. It's still relatively new. It was built with accessibility in mind and accessibility first. But many of the parks that I've worked in, actually most of the parks I've worked in, were actually built in the 70s and 80s when accessibility and inclusion was just not a thing.
Hmm.
I don't even think ADA was a thing at that point. ADA did not come about until the late 80s, early 90s under George Bush, the original, not the original George, but George Bush's father. And then there are a couple of parks out there that I've even worked in that were built in the 50s and 60s, and accessibility and inclusion really was not a topic of discussion then. So it's a little bit more challenging for those folks, but it's simple things that you can do. And it's starting with looking at the guest experience. Most folks experience your park before they actually get there through the website.
Hmm.
So ensuring that your website is fully accessible. And that includes the font, the colors, the way that things move in and out of the screen, all that, um, you know, targets accessibility for our guests, especially those who have visual impairments. Um, but then it goes to the experience once your guests arrive. Parking is a major thing,
Oh
for
yeah.
folks, making sure that you have enough accessible parking and not just what is the standard by ADA, but making sure that you have above and beyond that, and that uh, it's not just parking spaces that have the handicap symbol in it, but it's truly accessible spaces where a wheelchair lift can come out on the side and not damage other cars around it. The entry experience, ensuring that things are wide enough for folks to get through, that doors have automatic openers. I mean, it's so many things out there that parks can do that really don't require a lot of capital. It just requires thought and curiosity.
Hmm.
Do you guys have any plans to expand the Morgan's mission outside of the San Antonio area?
Not at the moment. Gordon, our founder, is from San Antonio. This is his home, and so the the company, the organization of Morgans, is really not interested in expanding. But what we do want is to make the world a more accessible place. So our goal is not to have a Morgan's Wonderland in California or New York or Orlando, but it's to be an inspiration to those operations that are in other parts of the country, that are in other parts of the world. And I think we're already doing that. I mean, we have visitors from all over the world. We have visitors from the major theme parks. Just 2 days ago, we had a major event with IAPA here, where we had folks from Universal, Hirsch, and many ride manufacturers were here. So we want to spread the mission through inspiration rather than building more Morgans.
Yeah, that makes total sense. Kind of on the same question, I did see that you guys do like an inclusive Santa type training. Is that something that you guys could ever see yourself opening up to get like hands on with those other parks and help them?
Yeah, so we actually have an inclusion institute and that's relatively new, but for any organization, whether it's a theme park, family entertainment center, airport, whatever the case may be, they can contract with us on ways that they can be more accessible. So, what's interesting about our inclusion Santas is that they're all independent contractors, and they come and get their inclusion training through us, and they go out and work their traditional Santa roles elsewhere, because they know that they're dealing with children of all abilities. So the inclusion Santas that we do are for the community, because these Santas that we deal with want to be more inclusive.
Yeah, that makes total sense.
It's so cool that there's an inclusion institute.
There,
Yeah, I didn't
there
realize
is.
there was a whole institute. That's incredible. I love that you guys are hands on helping whoever wants to learn.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's the Inclusion Institute was born out of the fact that there's so much to inclusion, there's so much to accessibility, and we here at the park, we often get a lot of requests for, can we tour? Can we see this? Can we see that? Can you teach us about this? Can you teach us about that? Um, And we love doing that, but we also have to be cognizant that me and my team, we are operating a park. And so it can sometimes get difficult and downright overwhelming, because for a while we were kind of playing that role of Inclusion Institute. So the actual Inclusion Institute kind of takes some of that burden off of us, to teach and inspire the world, if you will. Now we still do it. That's what we do. But more of the hands-on learning now comes from the Inclusion Institute rather than from us here at the park as operators.
Now, is that something that employees go through as well?
Our employees do go through inclusion training,
Okay,
and that existed long before the Inclusion Institute was ever even thought of as a thing.
very cool. So, if any of the listeners are interested in getting involved with Morgan's or supporting the mission, what would be the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, so they can see all the things we do at morgans.org. But I always tell folks, the biggest thing you can do for us is just simply be a brand ambassador. Make sure that you tell folks that there is a place that is built for and specializes in rides and attractions for people of all abilities. We are not just for the disabled and special need community. We are for everybody. That was a misconception that I had when I was first introduced to Morgan's, many years ago. I was like, oh, that's just that park for folks with special needs. And that's just not true. So the more folks who can be that brand ambassador for us, who can tell folks about the things that we're doing, that makes our lives a lot easier.
Yeah, I know. I personally, I really want to go out and visit the park at some point.
Well, you should. Where are you guys based out of?
I am in Cincinnati, Ohio.
Okay.
And I'm right outside of Philadelphia.
Oh, okay, wonderful. All right. Well, you're right near Kings Island, and
Yeah.
yeah, Philadelphia. Yeah, spent some years at Sesame Place there, so
Yeah,
I'm
I
sure.
I grew up going there,
All
so
right, very cool. It's changed a lot over the years, but it's still a great little park.
yeah, it's a very good one, I think, for the kids
Yeah.
especially.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, no, we on our last episode we actually talked a good bit about Sesame Place and the was it Hidden Disability Sunflower program that they started.
Mhm.
Yeah, they didn't start it. I believe it started in Europe.
It
Um,
it did. It did. It started in the
yeah.
United Kingdom, and as a matter of fact, the family that started it actually visited Morgan's about a year and a half ago or so.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
Mhm.
Yeah, I had visited a park in Europe last year, and someone introduced me to the program, and I absolutely fell in love with it. And then when Sesame Place announced that they were including it, it made me extremely happy.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's a good program. It's a good park as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Any final thoughts from you, Richard, for our listeners?
Um, just be curious, ask questions, and yeah, just because someone has a special need or disability doesn't mean that they're any different from anybody else. So,
Mhm.
and I learned that coming here, and I'm truly appreciative.
Yeah. That ties well actually with the inverted creative studio model motto that I came up with, it, which is see the world from a different perspective.
Mm.
So think inverted, think differently, and so just I think people just need to be more aware of everything around them. Just
Oh yeah.
absorb all the knowledge they can about everything.
Oh yeah. I totally agree. Totally agree.
Thank you so much for your time today, Richard. We very much appreciate it. Hopefully, more people will kind of explore the Morgan's mission and just.
We hope so. We hope so. It's been a pleasure chatting with you both, and yeah, Godspeed to you. This is a great podcast, and wish you much success.
Thank you so much. You as well.
Thank you so
All
much.
right. Well, you all have a great evening.
We'll do our usual hashtag think inverted and our new little hashtag think inclusive to everyone, and we will see you next time.